Hey, what up everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you this morning. I made a video about Jon Jones and UFC 187, his fight that he was going to be having against Rumble Johnson. Honestly, I wasted my time. I talked a lot about the situation that was going on with Jon Jones and his arrest that happened over the weekend with him being involved with a hit and run. And due to this situation, he has been suspended by UFC, and the suspension is not any due time. It is until basically Dana White feels that Jon Jones is acting like a civilized person once again and can rejoin UFC 187. At the same time, he has been stripped of his light heavyweight championship, and the championship now is being added to the UFC 187 show, which is going to be Anthony Rumble Johnson going up against Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier was Jon Jones' opponent at UFC 182. There was no love lost between those two guys, so Dana White giving the shot to Daniel Cormier is honestly a little bit of a stab in the back on Jon Jones. Jon Jones has a set opponent when Jon Jones is able to make his return to the UFC. We all can hope that Jon Jones will kick any problems that he is having, and he will become a normal person yet once again. I know that people were really looking forward to him going to rehab back in January, where he did the 24-hour stint where he miraculously was cured of his addictions or his problems, and he released himself and he went to the AFC Championship game as well as a UFC show that was in Boston that night. But Jon Jones being stripped of his championship is honestly a really big story for UFC right now. It really changes the show of UFC 187. This was going to be a very, very big show. Donald Cerrone was fighting on there. Chris Weidman has a match against Vitor Belfort. Cerrone is fighting against a guy that I have no idea how to say that long name. But Johnson versus Cormier will be the new... I don't even know if that's going to be the main event. I would put Weidman into the main event against Vitor Belfort, and I would make this become the semi-main, honestly, in my opinion. But Jon Jones in UFC has a record of 21-1. He's been champion for a long time, and he's sort of a guy that they've thrown a lot of guys at him, but he's always been way better than the opponents that they've been able to put up there against them. But the UFC 187 takes a knock because Jon Jones is one of the biggest stars in UFC. But as being said, that was already a stacked show that was going to be going up against there. Dana White basically was pushed to the edge. There was nothing he could do when Jon Jones had his fight thrown out due to the cocaine that was in his system that was found in a drug test after his fight at UFC 187. Actually, I believe the cocaine came up in a drug test that was before the fight, because UFC took a lot of heat because they still let the fight happen even though they knew that Jon Jones had failed the drug test. I remember a lot of the things that Dave Meltzer was saying about the fight that weekend was that everything felt a little bit sketchy, the details that were surrounding it, and they all knew that something was coming, but I don't think anybody expected it was going to be there. And Dana White needs to shape up UFC to try and get it to where it actually has rules and boundaries. There was a person that said that basically UFC treats their fighters as if, we're going to drop the hammer on you if you don't act right on social media than they actually do in their real lives. Jon Jones, running a red light, getting involved in an automobile accident and fleeing the scene of the crime only to reappear at the scene of the crime to grab cash out of your car, stuff it in your pants, and leave the scene of the crime again, even though witnesses are telling you that we know who you are. You are a very famous person in this very small town. This is not going to be good for you or your career. You need to stay here. I know that if I was involved in an automobile accident, I would be able to pay any fine that went along with it. I would face the music if it was my fault. That's the reason why we have insurance. And, you pay the ticket for the red light. It's no big deal. There's lots of people throwing allegations that Jon Jones fled the scene of the crime. So if he was drug tested, there would be nothing that showed up in his system. Jon Jones isn't really speaking at this point. He did have an apology posted on Twitter saying that he had a lot of soul searching to do and that he was sorry to everyone that he let down with everything that's gone down this week. But honestly, in my opinion, Jon Jones will be returning to UFC. When he does come back, either Anthony Johnson or Daniel Cormier will have his lightweight heavyweight championship title, and I'm sure that's going to be a big fight down the road. The rebirth, the re-rise of Jon Jones.